The queer community is a fun time. It can also be a naughty time, whether it's play parties, chemsex, burlesque, or the art of tease. Many queer people in Malta are always looking for an outlet to express and explore their sexuality. One of the people providing this outlet is Claudia, accountant by day and fetish rave organizer by night. She is one of the brains behind Harshmallow and hopes to use this party space to raise more awareness around fetish culture.
So, Harshmallow is a fetish/kink themed party. It's quite a new concept in Malta. We got inspiration from the likes of Torture Garden, Club Verboten, Kit Kat, if anything, and it's all about celebrating this whole BDSM community, which is still very underground in Malta, Unfortunately, I think it's still quite a stigma and a taboo in Malta. Our main objective is not just being a techno party, We're not trying to be the next Berghain or anything like that. We just want to get the community together, people get to meet like-minded people, dance the night away, obviously. Throw some techno, obviously, in there.
Some techno, some BDSM, some kink.
Exactly. I mean, it goes it's quite intertwined, the techno scene and the BDSM, the whole leather and latex scene.
Yeah, I think even techno from an aesthetic, fashion point of view, you can see kind of overlaps.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about Harshmallow, so it has, the techno music, etc., and the elements. But you guys also have performances as well.
Exactly, and we focus more on the performances of anything, Obviously the music is important as well, but the performances is quite new in Malta, and we want to show people, listen, this is fun, and
a celebration.
A celebration, exactly, of what we love,
Can I ask, what kind of performers do you usually get?
We have quite a vast selection. We get shibari performances. We have a kind of fed burlesque performances where you get a bit of wax play as well. We're introducing a bit of impact play as well, like flogging and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, and pole dancing.
Yeah.
Again, in Malta we're kind of limited because either there are people that actually do these things and they're a bit reluctant to be so public about it. But yeah, slowly we're getting there. We're creating a community, and that's what it's all about. Bringing the community together and just enjoying the night together.
Do you see that? Maybe this is my own personal observation, a miscorrelation. Many persons within the queer community are more drawn to these kinds of kink and fetishes parties.
Definitely. I think being queer automatically gives you a certain open mind, We have a different lifestyle. We don't live the traditional lifestyle society created, kind of thing. So yes, queer people are more open about the BDSM scenario, so they're not afraid to show it.
Yeah, they're not afraid to get kinky on the dance floor.
It's true. Even when you go abroad, certain parties actually started as queer parties, then it became a diverse thing.
And I think that's what's really nice, that you guys have managed to find your community and you're really giving it space to grow, respecting the privacy.
Exactly. It was a community that needs a voice, you know what I mean? That it's okay, it's safe to do so,
And have you found any resistance from whether it be other certain members of the community, from public? It could be anyone, but basically, have you found any problems or?
So far, no, let's put it that way. But yeah, I do feel we're kind of bending the rules a bit. So obviously, being such a Catholic country, I would presume that there would be some kind of backlash at some point.
Yeah.
It's all about educating though, We're introducing workshops before the party now as well to educate people how to, for example, do impact play and bondage safely. and
so
all
it's
that.
educational. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like a collective, you know. We started with a party, but as we go along, we're trying to do more. We're trying to educate people about this, enjoying the party night as well. Maybe eventually we'll have a bit more of a private events which are more intimate as well, you know, where people can socialize more, because obviously when you have music blasting in your ears, maybe you can't really speak much. But it's not just about the parties, you know. We're trying to educate people and tell them, listen, this is a very normal instinct after all. I believe that everyone has some kind of fetish and kink, and that they're just like, it's waiting to be explored, you know what I mean? And again, I can't stress enough, consent is the most important thing.
Some people like to take it a step further when exploring their sexuality and dabble with drugs to enhance the experience. We sat down with Nick to see what happens at sex parties and how chemsex, when done responsibly, can enhance the sexual experience.
I think that I was then, like, once I had figured out that I was queer and kind of settled into that identity, I started craving that freedom again. And so I think that play parties ended up being a place for me to feel that freedom, and then chemsex as well, kind of involving drugs in those play parties and having that safe environment to feel free helped me kind of satisfy that craving. But I think more than a craving, it's something that's like a deep yearning for expression.
Okay, so
and intimacy.
did you feel that in these play parties you had that kind of space to step in? And you know, you're going into this, it's a very vulnerable thing as well. You're going into this community, and you felt like that was an area that you could really play around with your queer identity as well. So it was quite big.
It was, because I was able to experiment, for example, with like men and women and people in between, who at the end of the day were like me. So it was like a concentration of like queer intimacy.
Another thing is like boundaries. I think is something that comes up a lot during chemsex, and everybody brings up this: can we keep boundaries when we're involved in drugs, etc.
And can you practice consent?
Yeah. So I don't know if you can sort of elaborate on your personal experience on this point, like your takeaway.
Well, for me, it was important that I knew the people, or at least some of the people who I was going to be with at the play party. And so the person who was organizing it did reach out to me and gave me the rundown, but also told me, is there anything you're comfortable or not comfortable with? So like that, I did set ground rules, and he kind of told me what to expect and stuff like that. But then even during the night, or when you're mingling before everything kind of starts, you do get to talk with people and kind of let them know what it is you might be comfortable with, because you're going to end up talking about what's about to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it is good that prior to taking drugs, even alcohol if possible, like talking about your boundaries, like your hard limits, your soft limits, and all that stuff. What you're willing to try, what you're
not wanting to see. Or
exactly.
It's important to set those ground rules, especially while you're sober, because you can never stop people from having sex and doing drugs. You know, people, like, we know this already. You cannot stop people from having sex, and in the same way that where drugs, when something exists, you cannot ever stop it from existing or people from using it. And especially with kind of how liberating drugs can feel, it's not something that's easy.
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't really talk about, is like, why do people have chemsex? And I think if you've never had it, it's very hard to
understand.
relate.
Yeah.
So I can speak on my own personal experience. When you take drugs and you mix it with sex, it's sort of enhancing everything.
For sure.
I don't know if you want to elaborate a bit on your personal experience on this.
It felt like I was really just giving in to my emotions, and like it felt like all those kind of insecurity that I had before kind of just dissolves, and I could just really focus on the feeling of connecting with other people and even, you know, physically, emotionally, on such like a deeper level that I wouldn't have been able to if I had not taken Molly.
Yeah, like I think that kind of human connection is very, very intimate because it really allows you to be present in the moment. Like, even like, you know, you're touching each other, everything's like, wow, you know, everything feels great, which is something that we really don't, again, people who haven't taken it won't really understand. But yeah, I sort of, it can get like a bit spiritual sometimes, I think, at points, because you're really pushing, it's not like you're even pushing boundaries, you're sort of melting boundaries, I find it. It's like kind of just...
You're allowing your walls to come down.
Yeah, and it's, given the fact that people within the queer community are always generally very guarded.
Yes, for sure. I think it does come from the trauma that a lot of us have been through.
Yeah, because we're always constantly having to play this role, and then you're around people, you're like, this is my safe space. I'm gonna go crazy. I love it. Do you have any keeping safe drug tips that you'd like to share?
I think the best thing is to know what you're taking. So ask what you're taking. If you have any kind of test strips, make sure you use them. Don't share things like straws or notes if you're taking anything through the nose. Don't share any needles.
Pipes as well. I think.
Pipes as well. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think that's always very important to keep in mind with your drug paraphernalia. Is that have your own personal stuff.
Equipment, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nice to share, but not those kinds of things. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go into the element of the way that we as queer people look at chemsex and play parties, etc. And for us, it's something that's very intimate, as we've mentioned before. It's something a bit more spiritual, maybe. However, sometimes it can be taken from an outsider's perspective as very sexualized. And I feel like sometimes there can be this kind of misrepresentation of this kind of beautiful scene. I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit on this kind of notion of sexualization of the queer community, especially when it comes to chemsex.
I think the queer community has been sexualized basically as long as we've existed.
Totally agree.
And even like on our journey to getting civil rights, it was never about necessarily being sexual or being promiscuous. It was always about sexual liberation. And so that then translates to chemsex. So the purpose of chemsex is to feel that sense of sexual liberation. It's not really about, I don't know, showing how sexual you are and showing off how sexual you are. It's just about enjoying the sexual relations that you have with other people who are in the community that you trust, that you feel safe with. And I think that aspect of safety and trust is very important. I think that when you're involving drugs with sex, there can be some blurring of boundaries, like you said before, but especially regarding consent. Because as we know, you cannot consent if you are under the influence of alcohol. And that also applies to any other drug that you are taking. So it's important that you do know the people beforehand. And like we said before, you set ground rules. And
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why persons within the queer community really enjoy kind of chemsex or why it's a bit more common is because we also have that sexual liberalization journey, because for such a long time the queer community was repressed and the whole notion of queer sex was wrong.
Yeah.
So you get into these moments of you're in the safe space with people and it's for you. So it's like it's created by the community for the community.
Exploring your sexuality doesn't have to involve kink and drugs. Burlesque has long been an important space for the expression and celebration of the LGBTIQ community. And who better to speak to about burlesque in Malta than Undine Laverve, a burlesque performer, producer and tutor with years of experience with the art form.
Why do you think that burlesque is such a safe space for queer persons, and why we see so many queer people not only performing but also in the audience as well?
Well, I think there are many aspects. So first of all, it's a very safe space because we have a great community again, of different people, and it's very accepting. Burlesque is very non-discriminative in the sense that, like you said, different body types, different ages, you know, like people who don't fit into other, like more, you know, conservative types of art, they fit in burlesque. And I think that's nice, like, you know, and we have very multidisciplinary performers, but from all different types of the world, different types of art, and they come and they find their place in burlesque. And I think also queer people like it because, well, yeah, it's very queer.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's liberating. It's nice to see a person that you can relate to on stage, because you see a body that you could relate to, and then people see it and maybe they say, I could do this. Potentially, maybe they wouldn't, but they would imagine themselves doing it. Also, it's creating fantasy, so it's really nice to see. And also it's fabulous, you know, the costumes, obviously. I think a lot of the gay people, a lot of us, like queer people, we just like the fabulosity. We just like how big and gorgeous it is.
The glitter, the sequins.
It's so extra, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, it's like the fantasy. And that's what we're creating. We're creating that fantasy.
I wanted to, another thing that I find very interesting in burlesque is that it can also be like, it can be cute, it can be a bit more like, you know, dark, but it can also be used to have a message, like a political message as well, which I think is a very, very interesting tool. And I know that you have done something similar.
Yeah, so I have all types of acts. I do from cute to dark to, you know, I like to mix. And there are different styles, but there's also the style of political burlesque. And you see a lot of these acts. Like, I've seen acts about Brexit, I've seen acts about the EU, I've seen acts about all types of things. I've seen a really great act in Berlin about like trans people getting murdered. It was really dark, and like by a trans person. It was really dark and heavy, and sometimes they leave you feeling dark and heavy, but sometimes there are messages that leave you feeling hopeful. Sometimes they're done in a comical way, because back in the day, as burlesque, what it started out in vaudeville, is a type of art that was making fun of the upper classes. So it was really very much about that. It wasn't always about disrobing or undressing as we do now, but it was cross-dressing, because women used to wear suits on stage back in the day, and that was a big thing. It was like, oh, you know, in the late 1800s, like, oh, woman. And people used to love to see the like shapely thighs in pants. And then it was also very much about making fun of the upper classes and the current political situation. And I've also heard that some of these shows were even run in like church basements and you know, city halls and stuff like that.
So
Underground, just normal people. As in, because burlesque was a type of prose before it became vaudeville, and then it became what we know really in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, and during the Great Depression, in the, you know, in the music halls we would have then girls mostly at that time, now men too, but girls mostly at that time doing the disrobing, the strip teasing as we know today.
I don't know if you have any, you know, comments like, why is it important that we continue to have multis? You know, the importance of having burlesque within our culture.
I mean, it is entertaining. I think that's very important. Entertainment is great, and theater and entertainment and things like that. And being in the theater is nice for us because it really gives credibility to burlesque, because I've had those times when people would be like, oh, you're a burlesque performer, what do you do? You know, it's stripping. Like, yes, we do strip, but we're teasing, right?
Yeah, the art of tease. Right?
Exactly, it's the art of tease and the art of seduction. So, but apart from being entertainment, I think it's really important to normalize all of these things, the different bodies, the queer bodies, the, you know, the queer stories. And we tell stories, and like in this show, for example, we have a sailor who wants to be a showgirl, you know, and that's just like, so he's a sailor, but he wants to be in the show, and he finds his place in Straight Street in a cabaret, and that's this story. And in September we have a queerlesque edition of Maltese, where we have a fully queer cast, right? We have four cis women, but you know, presenting or they being non-binary or whatever, and then 4 cis male, also some of them non-binary, some of them male presenting, some of them female presenting, whatever. But it's going to be just a great mix. Again, it's nice to show people that this is burlesque and anything is possible in burlesque, you know?
Yeah.
To show them that expression of different people expressing themselves and the beauty of it, the diversity of it.
Kind of celebration of our
The
queerness.
celebration of also of the queerness, but also of the body, of the human body in any shape that it comes, right? My mom's in, you know, she's like in her later years. She's in the show, and then anybody can do it, you know.
Oh my gosh, online, it's been a pleasure. You know, I'm a big fan, and I've even done the lessons myself, and I wish you best of luck and break a leg.
Thank you.
tonight.
I just want to add maybe that I think it's important because I really struggle with femme like visibility, right?
Yes, I'm down for this.
I've had so many. I've actually asked a girl out on a date, and we spent like 4 hours talking in a bar, and then I tried to kiss her after, and she'd be really shocked, and she's like, I thought you were a friendly ally, and I'm like,
No!
do you think I would spend 4 hours talking to someone in a bar if I was a friendly ally, girl? I don't have the time, you know?
But this is the thing about like passing culture and whatnot. There is a problem of visibility. I completely agree with you.
And being bisexual, there's a lot of, I don't like the word bisexual because I feel like there's bad connotations around it.
Yeah.
So I prefer queer because it's all encompassing, and I think
Totally agree.
we're just all queer people in a queer world. We're all a little bit queer, to be honest.
Yeah, I really feel that the whole point of the series that I want to bring out is that, you know, I want to show the strangeness or what people consider strange, because we're moving away from the normative of what we see as LGBTIQ and queer.
Yeah.
The whole point is that it's a whole spectrum, and
Absolutely.
as you're saying, like, you can be a lipstick lesbian, or you can be super femme, dolled up.
You can be a glitter lesbian.
Exactly.
Or glitter bi or whatever.
Yeah.
Glitter queer.
Exactly. A rainbow
This
queer.
is me. I'm a glitter queer.
Yes, and I'm here for it.
In our next episode, we will take a deeper dive into the trans community in Malta while discussing the gender binary and terms like mara rajel in the Maltese culture. In our next episode, we will head to our sister island to explore what it's like to be queer in Gozo
Wake up and smell the coffee.
and how the community there has been changing over the years.